If you're a local business, what's it going to take to rank for people searching for your product or service in your area? In this video, I'm going to give you some quick things you can check to see if SEO is right for you. And to illustrate this, I'm going to compare mortgage broking as a more competitive industry with a search for a local mechanic. Okay, so first we're looking at the mortgage broker Castle Hill search results, and immediately we see that all 4 ad spots are taken up. So straight away we know that people consider this a competitive term, that there's money there that people want to rank for. So even before we move further, we know that there's going to be a bit of competition for SEO. Then we see the Google Maps results before we actually get into the organic results. Now, over here on the right hand side, you're seeing some things that on the side of the search results that you yourself wouldn't typically be seeing. That's coming from a free Google Chrome extension called Keywords Everywhere, if you want to look it up. And what it does is it gives us some information about like the difficulty of that search term to rank for, the related keywords that people might search for, and what people also search for there. And then over here on the left hand side, looking at the actual search results, that what are coming up, we see what Keywords Everywhere is doing is inserting a few stats about each of those results. First up, we've got the domain authority, which is a measure of how authoritatively Google might look at that domain. Just because it's got a high domain authority does not mean that every single page on that website has that same domain authority. It's overall looking at the value of that domain. It may mean that some domains rank better than others, easier than others, but it's not always the case. The other thing to look at is the referring links. Again, this does not mean that that's the number of links to that individual page. It's not. It should be just considered as an indicator of the amount of SEO that website has been doing. So if you're seeing a lot of links to that website, that means that quite typically they are engaging somebody to do SEO for their site. So immediately you know you're going to be up against that. So it's not going to be a walk in the park necessarily. And what we're looking at here is a lot of bigger companies that are ranking just because of their domain authority. They've been around, they've been doing that SEO for a while. We're seeing Yellow Pages as a directory coming up, word of mouth is coming up. What that says is that this is still a potential if you want to do SEO for a term like this, because we know that Yellow Pages is not necessarily going to be doing SEO on every single page. So as soon as we start seeing that coming up, we know that there is potential to come in and potentially rank for that. May take a bit of work, but it's not insurmountable. And you can see it's not until we get further down the page that we start seeing probably this one is a local business that's ranking. That being said, if we go back to the Google Maps results, where we see the Google business profiles of these businesses, not all of these businesses that we're seeing coming up in the top 3 are reflected in the organic results further down. So this does indicate that there is potential for a bit of local SEO to get you up and ranking. Now, if we then move on to Mechanic Castle Hill, this is what would be a lower competition search term. In general, the smaller local businesses aren't necessarily going to be doing the same amount of SEO that a service like a mortgage broker would be doing. In general, the cost per service isn't worth as much, so you don't get the same degree of SEO as a general rule. That being said, we are seeing a couple of Google ads. It's not the entire 4 spots that are taken up, so there is, if you wanted to jump in on something like this, very likely the cost per click, if you were running some Google ads, would be not very expensive. Then moving into the Google Maps results, before we start seeing what's going on in the organic results, and you can start seeing, okay, you've got UltraTune as a franchise, Yellow Pages as a directory, AutoGuru, again, a directory, and then you're seeing some local business results coming up, but you can see the referring links. There's only 103 there, there's only 6 there. So you know that this is a term that doesn't actually have a lot of competition. So if you wanted to come in there and start ranking for a search term like this, then there is a potential for you to take over. So when you're looking at things like this, just from a service perspective, you can install the Keywords Everywhere Chrome extension just to get an idea of what is going on, and just to work out just by yourself whether or not it's worth considering SEO.